outlets!
Hello!
It's Shameless Plugs Podcast, back for another exciting episode where we talk about writing, and we read writing.
Yes.
Because we're reading writing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
On this episode here, based on an episode you should go listen to.
Yes.
And you might want to actually, well, I don't know if you want to leave this episode and go listen to it or not, but it's really short and it's really awesome.
Yeah.
And prompt challenge!
Yes.
And I guess, okay, we'll do introductions too.
Yeah.
I'm Samantha the Writer, and I just ate a cookie. And I'm with...
I'm J.A. George, and I did not get much sleep last night, so she's manic. She's manic. I'm not manic.
Yep, you know, details.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So, thank you for joining us again.
Yeah. 2 episodes, as Samantha said, we did a prompt challenge. Now you get to hear the results of that prompt challenge.
And just to kind of reiterate the details of said challenge, we each issued, like we said, a challenge. Wow.
Yeah.
Word of the podcast.
Yes.
Challenge. To one another. It was a complete surprise. Neither of us knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And then parameters, 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
Write it by the next podcast.
Yep.
Good luck. Go. Yeah. Hopefully you guys wrote along with us. That'd be really cool. And if you want us to read what you wrote, either to ourselves or on the podcast, send it our way. Shamelesspluгspodcast@gmail.com. We'd be more than happy to take a look at it, read it, and then...
Or bring you on to read it.
Yeah, because that's something that we want to start doing.
Yes.
As a podcast that is about promoting us as writers, and our outlets as writers.
Yes.
We want to start having writers on to read their work and get their voice out there.
Yes. So I mean, I want to touch on that just very briefly. Yes, there is absolutely a selfish component to this show. It is shamelessly plugging ourselves and expanding our platform to, get our voices out there more and make us look better in the eyes of agents, editors, and so on. However, we have said from the beginning that we also want to do that for the other writers out there. So all kidding aside about us shamelessly plugging ourselves, we want you to have the opportunity to shamelessly plug yourself as well. That's part of why we bring on guests that we like. That's why we're going to have those guests come back on and do readings. We want to give you guys that same opportunity as well, but we can only do that if you actually send us work.
Right.
So if you're a writer, you want to come on the show, if we like your stuff, we're more than willing to give you guys a platform, but you gotta send it to us.
Yeah, because otherwise we
don't know about it.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
If we get to know you on social media and we like you and we like your work, we're more than willing to have you on the show, but you gotta interact with us.
Yeah, we'd love to talk with you, outlets. Reach out.
Yeah.
Send us stuff. Or say hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
If you're on Twitter, I'm open to direct messages as long as you're not trying to sell me something or send me anything inappropriate. But if you just want to have a conversation about writing or you want to promote yourself, feel free.
Yeah. Please do. And like I said, we've got our email and our website, www.shamelesspluгspodcast.com. You can always find us there as well.
Yep.
So please check it out.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, are we ready to do this whole reading thing?
I think we're ready to do this whole reading thing.
All right. Awesome. So, a couple weeks ago, I guess it was 2 weeks ago?
No, because we had
3 weeks ago?
We had Sophia LaRue in there. So
oh, wow. We gave ourselves 4 weeks to do this. Which was probably a good thing.
Yeah.
So, 4 weeks ago, I challenged J.A. George to write a story about... Oh my gosh, I'm going to forget my own prompt here. About a person being trapped in their grandmother's teapot, I believe is what it was. Was it something like that?
It was like that, but it wasn't that.
Oh.
It was...
Whoopsie!
Something has taken up residence in the teapot on your grandmother's bay window.
That's
I was
what
like,
it was.
I didn't write a story about what you just said, so...
Oh dear. I should have prepared for this. I thought I was, but then my brain turned off.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, something has taken up residence in your grandmother's bay window teapot.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Okay.
Go.
Are you ready?
I'm ready! I'm excited!
All right. I'm going to start reading now.
Does your story have a title?
I wish you hadn't asked that because it doesn't. So
that's okay. Spoiler alert, neither does mine.
Okay, good. It will have one before I post it on my website, but it doesn't at the moment. So,
yes, well, details.
So be sure to come visit jageorgewriting.com, find out what the title of my story is.
That's the cliffhanger.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
All right. Sickly sweet air clogged my lungs as I waded into Nancy's living room. Even as a kid, I'd had trouble breathing in this place. I especially hated the summer visits. Air conditioning was a city convenience in Nancy's mind, and when you added together the jars of potpourri, the vases of fresh flowers, the air fresheners, and the perfume she bathed in, it was as if a greenhouse got together with Georgia humidity to cook up a recipe for suffocation. In truth, I hated the winter visits too, but at least those came with holiday distractions. The blaring TV babysitting the younger cousins, the older cousins battling over wishbones or the right to open presents first. Aunts and uncles competing for Nancy's acknowledgement and eventual inheritance. But in the summer, it was just me and Mom and Nancy. No buffer from Dad, no one else to draw Nancy's attention. Just me, Mom, thick, sweet, unbreathable air, and Nancy. And now I didn't even have Mom. Nancy smoothed down her dress as she led me to the sofa. Even her dress was covered in a field of tiny white flowers as she took a seat in her armchair. I hadn't seen her since the funeral, and 9 months looked more like 9 years on her. Thinning hair revealed espresso-colored liver spots that had probably been hiding out beneath for years. The bags beneath her eyes made me hate myself, just a little bit, for comparing her to Star Wars Emperor, a similarity strengthened by the waves of wrinkles on her sagging skin. It hung in loose drapes, especially prominent where her arms bloused from her sleeves, as if flesh were a continuation of fabric. So this was what losing your daughter looked like. I almost felt some empathy for her. But then I remembered what a miserable bitch she was, and that the difference between us was that I actually loved my daughter. As if reading my thoughts, Nancy said, "I see you didn't bring Emma." No, she stayed on campus to study, I replied, nodding vigorously, as if emphasizing the point would convince her that I was telling the truth. Finals are next week, after all. Oh, are they? Nancy replied, her drawl turning syrupy. Of course they are. So much for burying hatchets. I lowered my eyes to my lap. How have you been holding up, Nancy? Keeping myself busy. Lots of company. Lots of visits to the shop. Oh, so you still get to town often then? Yes, Nancy replied. The Department of Motor Vehicles hasn't written me off yet. Avoiding Nancy's bait, I tipped my chin toward a framed photo of Mom and Nancy on the fireplace. She'd be glad to know we're talking. Nancy turned in her chair to study the photo. A moment of silence. Then she turned back, fixing me with a shark stare. Yes, I suppose she would. And to think it only took 6 years in her death. I looked away again, this time turning toward the bay window. A vase stood in each of the window's corners, and each held an arrangement of flowers. I moved closer to admire them. Somewhere, miles deep in the abysmal black hell pit she called a soul, Nancy had enough beauty left inside her to be an expert florist. Today, she'd opted to rim her window in a dazzling array of blues and violets. Hyacinths I can't read apparently. No, hyacinths mingled with tulips, hydrangeas, and irises, each of them a complementary shade, with a few leaves of greenery offsetting the brighter colors. A single flower sat in the center of the bay window, and it didn't call a vase home, but instead sprang from a teapot spout. The flower stood out, not just because of its placement, but also its coloring. In the middle of a sea of indigo, the flower dared to display white, almost translucent petals, with a deep maroon center and blood-red stripes following the path of its veins. I'd grown up in floral shops. I knew more about flowers than a decent percentage of botanists. I didn't recognize this species. Leaning in, a devil's face stared back at me from its center, complete with horns and yellow eyes encircling red pupils. What type of flower is this? I asked. Nancy stayed seated, her eyes on the flower. A demon orchid. Huh. That's fitting. I've never heard of it. No, you wouldn't have. It's Colombian. Discovered just a couple years ago. Very rare. Oh, so did you have to call in some favors to get one? Yes, but not quite in the way you're thinking. What do you mean? I asked.
Nancy.
I conjured it. You conjured it? I don't get it. Conjured. It means to bring something into existence or proximity through magic. Magic? Age, illness, or mom's death. It didn't matter. Like it or not, I owed it to mom to get Nancy the care she needed. Yes, magic. Demon orchids are Avengers. Avengers? I asked. Like superheroes? Nancy laughed, more sincere than I think I'd ever heard. Oh, don't be silly. Superheroes aren't real. But demon orchids are. They right the wrongs inflicted on their masters. Oh, do they? Okay. You know, it's a beautiful day. The leaves are starting to turn. There's just the perfect amount of crisp in the air. Why don't we continue our conversation outside? Fresh air might do both of us some good. No. Nancy's voice turned hard. I don't need your help, Elizabeth. The air or the crazy. Something was rubbing off on me. A flash of movement from the bay window. Porcelain tinkling against porcelain. The teapot. A dead ringer for my genie lamp. 6-year-old me tried to make it fly. It hadn't survived the landing. Nancy, is this... Nancy nodded. Demon orchids right the wrongs, like I said. Have a seat, Elizabeth. We need to talk. The end.
She's so creepy.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Well
thank
done.
You. So, I want to say just one thing about, because this actually came from, I had the idea to do a story about, like, a flower demon.
Nice.
So when you Google demon flower or flower demon, there's an actual flower. It's the Telepogon diabolicus.
Oh.
It really is a rare Colombian species that was
Really?
just discovered a few years ago, like in 2016. And in the center of the flower, it actually has a face that looks like a devil.
No way.
That's where this came from.
Shoot.
That's why I described it the way I did. I described it the way the actual flower looks. It really does look like there's a devil face looking back at you with horns and yellow eyes and everything. So that was not completely made up, and the only reason I'm saying that is because I realized that me reading the story, it probably sounds like I just made something up. That's a real flower, and that's where the whole story came from.
Outlets, I am going to make a bold prediction that we're going to have a picture of that on our social media accounts. So
absolutely will.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
nice.
Well,
That
thank
was
you.
nice. I like that. That was creepy and Nancy.
Yeah.
Nancy.
Yes.
Man.
So, all right.
What a creepy lady.
Yeah, that was the goal. She's a horrible person.
Well,
she
respectively.
Is an absolutely horrible person.
You know, details.
Yes. So,
is it my turn?
It's your turn. Okay. My challenge to Samantha was tell us all the story about the fight for freedom. Yep. And with that, take it away, Samantha.
Yeah, I am also titleless at the moment. And I will give a little bit of a warning. With the way that I wrote this, my West Virginia might come out a little bit.
Okay.
So,
all right. Okay.
We'll see. It all depends on how I decide to go about this. But anyway, okay, so here it is, the story about the fight for freedom. I spotted Charlie Waters just because I knew what to look for. Otherwise, he would have been hid real good under that pine. But I knew Charlie. Always had them those red laces on his boots and his white t-shirt tucked into his brown corduroys. I dove under the tree. Sam Hyde, figured they got you. You should talk, Charlie Waters. And we shook hands. He'd found a good vantage. Everything from Mr. McCullen's fence to Miss Harmon's curb was in sight. That curb was our goal. We just needed to cross into the cul-de-sac and the game was ours. Assuming Charlie had the prize. Hey, you here to win, I asked. Charlie nodded and rolled just enough that I could see the orange flag shoved in his front pocket. Timmy Suga's backyard was deserted. Their team was as depleted as ours. Let's break for it, I said. No, Big Bobby Hobart is still in it. He's guarding the passage. He's it? I think somebody else. He keeps looking that way. So both ways around were blocked. If it's one of the goons, we're probably lost, said Charlie. But I don't think so. Bobby's not happy about it. Who you think it is? Timmy Suga. This late? Probably trying to keep his white sneakers clean. We giggled. No way to know, though. No way to know until we go for it, I said. Charlie looked me up and down and gave one nod. You should take Big Bobby, I said. You're fast. No, I'll take the unknown. Might be Timmy, might be someone else. It's longer, but you're right. I'm fast. We high-fived, and I scurried out from under the pine. I crept across Timmy Suga's backyard. I wanted to give Charlie time. No Bobby Hobart. What if he'd gone the other way? I sped up and nearly rounded the corner of the house. Then I heard it. All your team's gone, Hyde. We got 'em all. Big Bobby Hobart. He stood by the lilac bush. Charlie had to run right by it to win. I took a bold step forward. Then come get me. You just give up, he said. No. Don't be a jerk. Suddenly, Charlie Waters came tearing around the side yard. Get him, Timmy, yelled Bobby. But Timmy had on them white sneakers. And I caught that glint in Charlie that said, we're going to win this. I started hollering and running straight at Big Bobby Hobart. He didn't know what to do. He reached for Charlie, then for me, and got neither of us. We crossed into the cul-de-sac and fell on our backs, out of breath and victorious. Charlie tossed the flag in the air. Good game, Charlie Waters. Good game, Sam Hyde. And we high-fived.
Nice. I like it. That is not at all what I was expecting, and that's a good thing. Well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, when I thought about it, I was like, I mean, kids are cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I would also like to point out that our listeners cannot see this, but probably one of the funny and distinctive things about J.A. George and myself is I read from a notebook, a handwritten notebook.
Yes. Yes.
And J.A. read from his phone.
Yes,
so
that
just,
is correct.
just
Yes.
also kind of set the scene here.
Thank you, draft folder at Gmail, because that's where I got my text.
Thank you, Shameless Plugs Notebook.
Yes.
But yeah, so that was my story about the fight for freedom.
Very good. Hope you guys enjoyed the stories. That is going to do it for this episode.
Yeah,
this is a pretty short one, so
yeah.
Hope you enjoyed the stories. Again, if you're a writer, you want to read on the show, you want to have an interview, a conversation with us, we're open. You just got to talk to us.
We're cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just reach out, say hey. I mean, we reach out too, but
yeah, we've reached out to a few people. We got some more guests lined up.
Yeah, we do. We're pretty excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot coming up here. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got some good stuff. So, but keep listening. Reach out to us if you got anything.
Yep.
If you just want to chat.
Yeah.
Rising
tide lifting all boats. That's what we're shooting for here.
Woo!
You help us, we help you. Everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
And we make new friends.
Yeah, new friends are cool.
Yeah.
Especially for a couple of introverts.
Yes, exactly. Introverts unite online on your own time. That's what...
With no expectations.
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
See you guys next time.